Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
At 8, Rutger Hauer is blindness who couldn't control himself. Blind Fury. At 9:30, Dennis Hopper stars of the HBO original movie, Doublecrossed. And at 11:30, a new terror of Beyond of the new second of Tales from the Crypt. Blind Fury, Doublecrossed, and Tales from the Crypt.
It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
At 9, Emilio Estevez, Kiefer Sutherland, Lou Diamond Phillips, and Christian Slater in the premiere of Young Guns 2. Sides of this horror series, Tales from the Crypt. Then at 11:30, HBO Comedy Hour George Carlin, doing it again. Young Guns 2, Tales from the Crypt, and HBO Comedy Hour.
It all happens here, tonight on HBO. It's Godfather night. Starting at 8, Marlon Brando and Al Pacino star in the award-winning saga, The Godfather. And at 11, the epic continues with Robert De Niro in The Godfather Part 2. Then at 2:30, it's a deadly all-star cast in Tales from the Crypt. Viewer discretion advised. The Godfather Part 2, Tales from the Crypt. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. First at 9, Amy Irving's a reporter risking it all to tell her story in A Show of Force. And at 10:30, it's the news show that goes behind the headlines and beyond belief. Join us for Night Wrap. Then at 11, catch all the action on cable's longest-running football series, Inside the NFL. A Show of Force, Night Wrap, and Inside the NFL. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. First at 8, a DA is accused of murder. Harrison Ford stars in Presumed Innocent. And at 10:10, join Will Schreiner, Ellen DeGeneres, and Jeff Martyr for the HBO Test Drive, where you can win a new Chevrolet. Then at 10:30, sit back for laughs with the HBO Comedy Hour. Garry Shandling, Stand Up. Presumed Innocent, HBO Test Drive, and Garry Shandling. It could only happen here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. First at 8, Eddie Murphy and Nick Nolte are together again in the Sunday night movie, Another 48 Hours. And at 10, catch an all-new episode of the sexy hit comedy series, Dream On. Then at 10:30, it's a tale of black magic. Fred Ward is Detective Lovecraft in the HBO original movie, Cast a Deadly Spell. Another 48 Hours, Dream On, and Cast a Deadly Spell. It could only happen here, tonight on HBO. And Mimi Rogers star in the HBO original movie, Deadlock. And at 11, see pro football from the inside on this week's edition of Inside the NFL. Then at 12, Martin's got a lot to laugh about when he dates a stand-up comic in another episode of Dream On. Deadlock, Inside the NFL, and Dream On. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Melanie Griffith and Matthew Modine have nothing but trouble from their new tenant, Michael Keaton, in Pacific Heights. And at 10, it's the painfully funny new series from the mind of Billy Crystal, Sessions. Then at 10:30, it's another episode of the sexy hit comedy series for grown-ups, Dream On, Pacific Heights, Sessions, and Dream On. It could only happen here, tonight on HBO. Series from the mind of Billy Crystal, Michael McKean and Elliot Gould star in Sessions. Then at 10:30, Matthew Modine and Eric Stoltz star in the World War II drama, Memphis Belle. Driving Miss Daisy, Sessions, and Memphis Belle. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, from the director of Rain Man, the story of an immigrant family living the American dream, Avalon. And at 10:10, Michael McKean and Elliot Gould star in the painfully funny new series, Sessions. Then at 10:45, a fling turns the life of a married man into a living nightmare in Body Chemistry. Avalon, Sessions, and Body Chemistry. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Co-stars in Funny About Love. Then at 12:15, Sylvester Stallone is Rocky Balboa in the classic Rocky. Prisoner of Honor, Funny About Love, and Rocky. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Goldie Hawn's coaching football in a bad school, but knows all the right moves in Wildcats. Then at 10, America's Undercover series takes a disturbing look at danger in the workplace in Death on the Job. Then at 11, the dynamic duo of Mel Gibson and Danny Glover are back in Lethal Weapon 2. Wildcats, Death on the Job, and Lethal Weapon 2. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, terror lurks from below in Stephen King's Graveyard Shift. And at 9:30, we're talking serious comedy here when the HBO Comedy Hour presents The Kathy and Mo Show. Then at 10:30, Sylvester Stallone is Rocky Balboa, a streetwise fighter with a shot at the top in the original Rocky. Stephen King's Graveyard Shift, The Kathy and Mo Show, and Rocky. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8:30, Tom Hanks, Melanie Griffith, and Bruce Willis star in the Bonfire of the Vanities. Then at 11, see pro football from the inside on this week's edition of Inside the NFL. Then at 12, it's an exclusive sports television event, Play-by-Play, a history of sports television, Game 1. The Bonfire of the Vanities, Inside the NFL, a history of sports television. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Mel Gibson and Glenn Close grace the screen in the premiere of Franco Zeffirelli's Hamlet. And at 10:30, take an exclusive look at classic Mel Gibson, The Making of Hamlet. Then at 11, get ready for the ride of your life when the Dice Man takes you on the adventures of Ford Fairlane. Hamlet, The Making of Hamlet, and the adventures of Ford Fairlane. It could only happen here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, it's an exclusive HBO musical event, Paul Simon, live in Central Park. And at 10, Love in the Outback is outright funny, with Cheech Marin and Emma Samms in The Shrimp on the Barbie. Then at 11:30, the most daring comedy troupe on TV is back, The Kids in the Hall. Paul Simon, The Shrimp on the Barbie, and The Kids in the Hall. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, in this gothic romantic fantasy film of the premiere of Edward Scissorhands. At 10, Beyond of the Tales, it was bookended by death, Tales from the Crypt. Then at 10:30, romantic life, career and sexual life, Dream On. Edward Scissorhands, Tales from the Crypt, and Dream On. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Double Feature Friday features Eddie Murphy, first in another 48 hours. Followed at 9:45 by the hilarious one-man show, Eddie Murphy Raw. Then at 11:30, it's another chilling chapter of Tales from the Crypt. Viewer discretion advised. Another 48 hours, Eddie Murphy Raw and Tales from the Crypt. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Forrest Whitaker and Jennifer Grey star in the HBO original movie, Criminal Justice. And at 9:30, fantasy comes to life for a nerd in love in Dream Trap. Then at 11, see pro football from the inside on this week's edition of Inside the NFL. Criminal Justice, Dream Trap, and Inside the NFL. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Julia Roberts is Sleeping with the Enemy. And at 9:40 is HBO See It for Free Weekend with your hosts Tom Parks and Wendy Malick. And at 10, Martin falls for a lusty psychotic in Dream On. Then at 10:30 is a true life story of the mob, Goodfellas. Sleeping with the Enemy, Dream On, and Goodfellas. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Sean Connery stars in the undersea thriller, The Hunt for Red October. And at 10:30, Malcolm McDowell plots an interplanetary business scheme in Moon 44. Then at 12:15, when Kevin Costner meets Sean Young, he uncovers a government scheme and finds there's no way out. The Hunt for Red October, Moon 44, and No Way Out. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
At 8, see the premiere of Macaulay Culkin and Joe Pesci. The kid was in the household with the criminal robbers. Home Alone. At 9:45, here's comedy slack of HBO Comedy Hour. Rowan Atkinson. And at 11, Sylvester Stallone and Kurt Russell tack up in prison in Tango and Cash. Home Alone. Rowan Atkinson and Tango and Cash.
It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Zach Galligan and Phoebe Cates are surrounded by hordes of nasty little gremlins. And at 10, there's spine-tingling terror for a group of film students in Popcorn. Then at 11:30, comedy too hot for ordinary TV. Russell Simmons' Def Comedy Jam. Viewer discretion advised. Gremlins, Popcorn, and Russell Simmons' Def Comedy Jam. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, The Godfather weekend continues with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in The Godfather Part 2. Then at 11:30, Nick Nolte stars in a powerful look at corrupt cops, Q&A. And at 1:45, comedy too hot for ordinary TV. Russell Simmons' Def Comedy Jam. Viewer discretion advised. The Godfather Part 2, Q&A, and Def Comedy Jam. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
Premiering at 8, Michael Corleone is back from Of the Decades to the Damage, Al Pacino, The Godfather Part 3. At 11, Anthony Michael Hall is an Iowa farm boy who to clear his own danger for To Kill of Out of Bounds. Then at 12:35, Miles O'Keefe, Cartel, The Godfather Part 3, Out of Bounds, and Cartel.
It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
At 8, the Saturday night premiere, Steven Seagal heads up with some bad guys, Out of Justice. At 9:30, live, boxing doubleheader, Foreman vs. Stewart. And at 11:30, Steven Seagal as the hero police detective investigates a criminal organization, Hard to Kill. Out for Justice, boxing doubleheader, and Hard to Kill.
It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, a courtroom battle becomes a family feud for Gene Hackman and Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio in Class Action. Then at 10, the mob's gonna pay for what they did to his family. Dolph Lundgren is the Punisher. And at 11:35, the making of a masterpiece, The Godfather Family, a look inside. Class Action, The Punisher, and The Godfather Family. It all happens here, tonight on HBO.
Tonight, it's the new Saturday night on HBO. At 8, Wesley Snipes is a new gangster arrival in the premiere of New Jack City. At 10, World Championship Boxing, Live, Terry Norris versus Meldrick Taylor. Then at 11:30, Brian Bosworth makes Lance Henriksen pays for what he's done, Stone Cold. New Jack City, World Championship Boxing, and Stone Cold.
Saturday night is opening night on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, HBO's Double Feature Friday begins with Forrest Whitaker and Robin Givens in A Rage in Harlem. Then at 10, Wesley Snipes and Ice-T fight a dangerous drug war in New Jack City. And at 12, comedy too hot for ordinary TV. Russell Simmons' Def Comedy Jam. Viewer discretion advised. A Rage in Harlem, New Jack City, and Def Comedy Jam. It all happens here, tonight on HBO.
Tonight, it's the new Saturday night on HBO. At 8, Kevin Costner and Morgan Freeman star in the premiere of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. At 10:30, the season premiere of this sexual adult comedy series of Dream On. Then at 11:30, go ahead to the night of HBO Comedy Hour, Sinbad. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Dream On, and HBO Comedy Hour.
Saturday night is opening night on HBO. Got it. At 6, lock the doors and hide the dog. Macaulay Culkin is home alone. And at 8, Al Pacino is back, and the Corleone family will never be the same. The Godfather Part 3. Then at 10:45, get it while it's hot. It's HBO's free preview with your host, Tom Parks. Home Alone, The Godfather Part 3, and HBO's free preview. Get it while it's hot. Tonight on HBO. Tonight, HBO's got it. At 8, Kevin Costner heats up the screen as the world's most famous outlaw, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Then at 10:25, Get It While It's Hot. It's HBO's free preview with host Tom Parks. Then at 10:45, just when you thought it couldn't get any hotter, Steven Seagal is out for justice. Robin Hood, HBO's free preview and out for justice. Get it while it's hot. Tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
At 8, see the premiere. Sally Field hits up with the all-star cast in Soap Dish.
Then at 10, it's the all-new episode of sex comedy series Dream On.
Then at 10:30, Crazy Stranger has found a new family to terrorize. Beware of Stepfather 3. Soap Dish, Dream On, and Stepfather 3. Saturday night is opening night on HBO. Found a new family to terrorize. Beware of Stepfather 3. Soap Dish, Dream On, and Stepfather 3. Saturday night is opening night on HBO. Tonight, HBO's got it. At 8 is a Father's Day exclusive. Ed O'Neill stars in the premiere of the heartwarming story Dutch. And at 10, Sally Field, Kevin Kline, and more are dishing out the dirt in the crazy world of Soap Dish. And at 11:40, a kidnapping turns into a war, and an LA high-rise is the war zone in Concrete War. Dutch, Soap Dish, and Concrete War. Get it while it's hot. Tonight on HBO. Tonight, HBO's got it. At 8, if it could happen to his mother, it can happen to anyone's. From America Undercover, My Mother's Murder. And at 9, it's Thursday Night Prime at a school with mechanical teachers in the class of 1999. Then at 11, television's sexiest comedy is in a whole new season, Dream On. My Mother's Murder, class of 1999, and Dream On. Get it while it's hot, tonight on HBO. Candy and Ali Sheedy, except his mother, in Only the Lonely. And at 10, TV's sexiest comedy on a new night in a hot new season, Dream On. Then at 10:30, dare to open a new chapter of Hamlet. Night on HBO. Tonight, HBO's got it. At 8, the action-packed double feature kicks off with Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando. And at 9:30, Steven Seagal is a tough undercover cop who's above the law. Then at 11:30, no one else can give it to you. HBO First Look, A League of Their Own. Commando, Above the Law, and HBO First Look, A League of Their Own. Get it while it's hot, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
At 8, premiering tonight, Leslie Nielsen stars in The Naked Gun 2, The Smell of Fear. At 9:30, the stand-up comedy takes you into the inside, the HBO Comedy Hour. Michael Collier. And at 10, Michael Tupper heads in this comedy of the new season of Dream On. The Naked Gun 2, HBO Comedy Hour, and Dream On.
Saturday night is opening night on HBO. Tonight, HBO's got it. At 8, Richard Widmark stars in the suspenseful thriller from HBO Pictures, Blackout. And at 9:45, John Candy and Ali Sheedy's romance has one problem, his mother, Only the Lonely. And at 11:35, the laughs are hot with the HBO Comedy Hour, Rick Dukeman, Hit and Run. Blackout, Only the Lonely, and Rick Dukeman. Get it while it's hot, tonight on HBO. Tonight, HBO's got it. At 9, it's Thursday Night Prime and the badge is back and better than ever. Maniac Cop 2. And at 10:30, the laughs are hot with the HBO Comedy Hour. Larry Miller, Just Words. Then at 11:30, Joe Mantegna hits a home run in Russia when he commands a team of winners in Comrades of Summer. Maniac Cop 2, Larry Miller, and Comrades of Summer. Get it while it's hot, tonight on HBO. Tonight, HBO's got it. At 8, Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves are riding waves, crime waves in Point Break. And at 10, the badge is back with a few laws of his own, Maniac Cop 2. Then at 11:30, he's the freshest face of comedy, the HBO Comedy Hour, Damon Wayans, The Last Stand, Point Break, Maniac Cop 2, and Damon Wayans. Get it while it's hot, tonight on HBO. Tonight, HBO's got it.
At 8, Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez takes out the trash in Men at Work. At 9:45, Charlie Sheen is in the fly town in this America to complete in the ride down, Hot Shots. And at 11:30, stay tuned of tales from the Crypt you'll never seen before. Viewer discretion advised.
Men at Work, Hot Shots, and Tales from the Crypt. Get it while it's hot, tonight on HBO. Tonight, HBO's got it. At 8, Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, and Oscar winner Whoopi Goldberg star in Ghost. And at 10:15, the laughs are on the house. It's One Night Stand, Command Performance, Ellen DeGeneres. Then at 11, Harrison Ford and Annette Bening star in the drama Regarding Henry. Ghost, Ellen DeGeneres, and Regarding Henry. Get it while it's hot, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it's opening night on HBO. At 8, Southern LA is the war zone for black youth in the premiere of the smash hit Boys in the Hood. And at 10, it's World Championship Boxing Live, Tony versus McCallum. And at 11:30, old sparks are flying for Martin in an all-new episode of the sexy hit comedy Dream On. Boys in the Hood, Boxing Live, and Dream On. Saturday night is opening night on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
At 8, Michael J. Fox heads up in the premiere hot-style comedy, Doc Hollywood. At 10, Martin Tupper is always dreamer than dreamer in this sexual comedy, Dream On. Then at 10:30, Larry is the talk show comedy of The Larry Sanders Show, starring Garry Shandling. Doc Hollywood, Dream On, and The Larry Sanders Show.
Saturday night is opening night on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
At 8, the Saturday opening premiere, Jean-Claude Van Damme strikes back of the action film, Double Impact. Then at 10, Martin Tupper is outstanding life single and sex comedy, Dream On. And at 10:30, Larry has the outstanding of this new comedy of The Larry Sanders Show, starring Garry Shandling, Double Impact, Dream On, and The Larry Sanders Show.
Saturday night is opening night on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, it's a provocative look at one of today's hottest stars, Madonna, Truth or Dare. And at 10, the laughs are on the house. It's One Night Stand, Susie Essman. Then at 10:30, watch one union boss's rise to power through corruption in the HBO original Teamster Boss, the Jackie Presser story. Madonna, One Night Stand, and Teamster Boss, the Jackie Presser story. It could only happen here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
At 8, see the premiere, starring Emma Thompson and Kenneth Branagh in Dead Again. At 10, World Championship Boxing, live Terry Norris versus Simon Brown. And at 11:30, Tupper is only the main guy of the hit comedy series Dream On. Dead Again, World Championship Boxing, and Dream On.
Saturday night is opening night on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. Take on the toughest honky-tonk in town, Roadhouse. Then at 10, it's One Night. Then at 10:30, in the true story of violent drug, Doublecrossed, an HBO original movie. Roadhouse, One Night, Doublecrossed. Tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Danny DeVito is a ruthless Wall Street raider in the premiere of Other People's Money. Then at 9:45, it's the HBO free preview and watch and win sweepstakes with your host, Rob Weller. And at 10, Martin gives a crash course in sex education. It's an all-new episode of the smash comedy Dream On. Other People's Money, HBO free preview, and Dream On. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Scott Bakula stars in the gridiron comedy Necessary Roughness. And at 10, he goes where no other talk show host dares to, The Larry Sanders Show starring Garry Shandling. And at 10:30, America Undercover looks inside the mind of a killer. The Iceman Tapes, Conversations with a Killer. Necessary Roughness, The Larry Sanders Show, and The Iceman Tapes. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, a deadly battle between good and evil could mean the end of the world, Warlock. Then at 10, a pint-sized alien packs a powerful punch in the sci-fi thriller, Dollman. And at 11:30, the Crypt Keepers got another chilling chapter of Tales from the Crypt. Viewer discretion advised. Warlock, Dollman, and Tales from the Crypt. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Demi Moore is a mystical maiden enticing up some romance in The Butcher's Wife. Then at 10, the faithful having a prayer when portly priest Robbie Coltrane gets promoted in The Pope Must Diet. And at 11:35, Bruce Willis and Damon Wayans track down a killer in The Last Boy Scout. The Butcher's Wife, The Pope Must Diet, and The Last Boy Scout. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
At 8, it's a Saturday night premiere, starring Anna Klumsky, Dan Aykroyd, and Jamie Lee Curtis, in My Girl. At 10, the 15th annual Young Comedians Show, hosted by Dana Carvey. And at 11, Tom Berenger hits off with Charlie Sheen in Major League. My Girl, the 15th annual and Major League.
It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
First at 8, premiering tonight, starring Bette Midler and James Caan, Sing for the Boys. At 10:30, Single Life of the 90s, getting on Sexy, Funny, and Dream On. Then at 11, stay tuned for Tales from the Crypt. Viewer discretion advised. For the boys, Dream On and Tales from the Crypt.
Saturday night is opening night on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
First at 8, Macaulay Culkin's getting defeat of his own mistakenly left by himself, must defending Home Alone. At 10, an 11-year-old girl living in Madison, Pennsylvania in the summer of My Girl. Then at 11:45, Christopher Lloyd stars in the HBO original movie Dead Ahead, the Exxon Valdez disaster. Home Alone, My Girl, and Dead Ahead.
It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 7, Play-by-Play, a history of sports television. And at 8, Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, and Whoopi Goldberg star in Ghost. And at 10:10, it's HBO See It for Free Weekend with hosts Tom Parks and Wendy Malick. Then at 10:30, Steven Seagal is a target who's marked for death. Play-by-Play, Ghost, and Marked for Death. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 7, get up close and personal with John F. Kennedy in the intimate, revealing portrait, JFK, in his own words. Then at 8, the crime of the century is revisited with Oliver Stone's controversial blockbuster, JFK. And at 11:30, it's an HBO original movie, Deadlock. JFK in his own words, JFK and Deadlock. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Motown of the 60s hits Ireland in the high-humored musical drama, The Commitments. Then at 10, a mad doctor attempts to create a new species to replace humans, the Unborn. And at 11:30, a struggling student mystery writer is out to avenge his brother's death, Right to Kill. The Commitments, The Unborn, and Right to Kill. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, you've got 2 great choices on HBO. At 9 on HBO, there's plenty of action on Thursday Night Prime with the premiere of Double Trouble. At 8 on HBO 2, 2 families are caught in domestic bliss. See you in the mornings. Then at 10:30 on HBO, it's Russell Simmons' Def Comedy Jam. And at 10 on HBO 2, Diane Keaton stars in this touching story of 3 lifelong friends, the Lemon Sisters. 2 great choices tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Danny Glover, Kevin Kline, and Steve Martin star in the premiere of Grand Canyon. Then at 10:30, Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy team up for 48 Hours. Then at 12:10, sexually abusive conman Patrick Bergen works his twisted charm on DA Sean Young in Love Crimes. Grand Canyon, 48 Hours, and Love Crimes. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight is worth waiting for on HBO. At 8, it's the frothy romantic farce Mannequin 2 on the Move. Then at 9:30, the premiere of the hard-hitting life stories, Families in Crisis, A Deadly Secret, the Robert Beer story. And at 10, the Crypt Keepers got another chilling episode of Tales from the Crypt. Viewer discretion advised. Mannequin 2, Life Stories, and Tales from the Crypt. Television worth waiting for, tonight on HBO. Tonight is worth waiting for on HBO. At 9:30, World Championship Boxing presents Riddick Bowe facing ex-champ Michael Dokes for the heavyweight title live. Then at 11, an Arizona sheriff investigates the past in A Climate for Killing. And at 12:45, Tracy Lords battles a drug-dealing psycho, Intent to Kill. World Championship Boxing, A Climate for Killing, and Intent to Kill. Television worth waiting for, tonight on HBO. Tonight is worth waiting for on HBO. At 8, Kevin Bacon stars in the pop musical Footloose. Then at 10, Rutger Hauer, Rebecca De Mornay, and Ron Silver in the HBO original movie Blind Side. Then at 11:45, laugh with funny man Richard Jeni in his first HBO comedy hour, Platypus Man. Footloose, Blind Side, and Richard Jeni. Television worth waiting for, tonight on HBO. In Final Impact, Final Analysis, Toy Soldiers, and Final Impact. Television worth waiting for, tonight on HBO. Chevy Chase, and a lot less. Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Then at 9:45, take a look at the Academy Awards, HBO Entertainment News Special Edition. And at 10, a squad of deadly women free a political prisoner when they're hired to kill. Memoirs of an Invisible Man, the Academy Awards Special Edition, and Hired to Kill. Television worth waiting for, tonight on HBO. Tonight is worth waiting for on HBO. At 8, James Garner in the story of intrigue, secret deals, and backstabbing. The HBO original movie, Barbarians at the Gate. Then at 10, a blowtorch maniac kills a co-ed in All-American Murder. And at 11:35, 3 street-smart cops go after a drug czar in New Jack City. Barbarians at the Gate, All-American Murder, and New Jack City. Television worth waiting for, tonight on HBO. Tonight is worth waiting for on HBO. At 8, 2 tales guaranteed to make you very, very nervous. 2 Evil Eyes. Then at 10, grab a front row seat to Thrills and Chills with Tales from the Crypt. Viewer discretion advised. And at 10:30, it's HBO's sexy hit comedy series for grown-ups, Dream On. 2 Evil Eyes, Tales from the Crypt, and Dream On. Television worth waiting for, tonight on HBO. Tonight is worth waiting for on HBO. At 10, grab a front row seat to Thrills and Chills with Tales from the Crypt. Viewer discretion advised. Then at 10:30, it's HBO's sexy hit comedy series for grown-ups, Dream On. And at 11, see a lot more of Chevy Chase and a lot less. Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Tales from the Crypt, Dream On, and Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Television worth waiting for, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, it's party time. It's excellent. It's Wayne's World starring Mike Myers and Dana Carvey. And at 9:45, Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson hustle on and off the court in the b-ball comedy White Men Can't Jump. Then at 11:55, Kevin Kline and Danny Glover head an all-star cast in the provocative Grand Canyon. Wayne's World, White Men Can't Jump, and Grand Canyon. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
At 8, premiering tonight, starring Mel Gibson, Danny Glover, and Joe Pesci in Lethal Weapon 3. At 10, Danny DeVito stars in this successful comedy drama, Other People's Money. Then at 11:45, by Ruined of the Lives Who Transfer in Toys, Demonic Toys. Lethal Weapon 3, Other People's Money, and Demonic Toys.
It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, It all happens here on HBO. At 10, Mel Gibson and Danny Glover are together again, cracking cases and heads in Lethal Weapon 3. Then at 12, take an HBO first look at Charlie Sheen's Hot Shots, Part 2. And at 12:30, Joe Pesci and award winner Marissa Tomei star in My Cousin Vinny. Lethal Weapon 3, Hot Shots Part 2, and My Cousin Vinny. It all happens here tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, keep your sight out of the business, but the terror seeks of revenge. Sam Neill, Dead Calm. At 10, of the sexual of unfaithful of this erotic thriller, In the Heat of Passion. Then at 11:30, terror arrives for a showdown and keeping a secret of the tales from the Crypt. Dead Calm, In the Heat of Passion, and the Tales from the Crypt. It all happens here tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
At 8, a new Saturday night, and Mountaineer holds up with the gear. K2. At 10, going on live. Heavyweight. Title fight. Bo versus Ferguson and Jones versus Hopkins. Then at 12, the undercover trackman goes to the Roadhouse. Bounty Tracker. K2. Heavyweight title fight and Bounty Tracker.
It all happens here tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 9, a tough cop and his karate-loving partner fight the mafia in Hard Case and Fist. Then at 10:30, the most outrageous stand-up on TV, Russell Simmons' Def Comedy Jam. And at 11, ex-CIA man Harrison Ford stars in Tom Clancy's espionage thriller, Patriot Games. Hard Case and Fist, Def Comedy Jam, and Patriot Games. It all happens here tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, American Dr. Patrick Swayze finds his life's work in the slums of Calcutta in the HBO premiere, City of Joy. Then at 10:30, Nicole Kidman sets sail for terror in Dead Calm. And at 12:10, Patrick Swayze is back, keeping order in a rough-and-tumble bar, Roadhouse. City of Joy, Dead Calm, and Roadhouse. It all happens here tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 11:30, he's hot, he's cool, he's the host of Late Night. It's the Larry Sanders Show starring Garry Shandling. Then at 12:15, Martin Lawrence hosts Def Comedy Jam. And at 12:45, step inside the hip-hop club world when Rosie Perez presents Society's Ride. Larry Sanders, Def Comedy Jam, and Rosie Perez. It all happens here tonight on HBO. Tonight is worth waiting for on HBO. At 8, Brian Bosworth goes undercover to bust up a biker drug ring in the cop thriller Stone Cold. Then at 9:30, you'll be too creeped to sleep when you see Tales from the Crypt. And at 10, Steven Seagal is a vengeful cop in the hard-hitting adventure Out for Justice. Stone Cold, Tales from the Crypt, and Out for Justice. Television worth waiting for. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, it's Steven Seagal in the hard-hitting killer thriller, Out for Justice. Then at 9:30, if you missed it the first time, catch all the action as HBO Boxing presents George Foreman versus Tommy Morrison. And at 11, check out the House Party Homeboys Kid and Play in Class Act. Out for Justice, Foreman versus Morrison, and Class Act. It all happens here tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 10:30, it's a brand new episode of the sexy, funny HBO comedy series Dream On. Then at 11, you'll be too creeped to sleep when you see Tales from the Crypt. And at 11:30, Rutger Hauer is a maverick cop hunting down a vicious serial killer in Split Second. Dream On, Tales from the Crypt, and Split Second. It all happens here tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, he's the guy who shot JFK. Danny Aiello is Ruby. Then at 10, he's the talk of late night, the Larry Sanders Show starring Garry Shandling. And at 10:30, it's another episode of the sexy adults-only HBO comedy series Dream On. Ruby, Larry Sanders, and Dream On. It all happens here tonight on HBO. Tonight is worth waiting for on HBO. At 8, John Ritter runs from the devil and TV hell in the comedy adventure Stay Tuned. Then at 9:30, Leslie Nielsen stars in the cop spoof The Naked Gun from the files of Police Squad. And at 11, he's a male chauvinist trapped in a woman's body. Ellen Barkin stars in Switch. Stay tuned, Naked Gun and Switch. Television worth waiting for tonight on HBO. Tonight is worth waiting for on HBO. At 8, see the premiere. Gina Davis, Tom Hanks, Madonna, and the Girls of Summer in a league of their own. Then at 10:15, it's an all-new episode of the sexy series Dream On. And at 10:45, he'll give you the creeps. See the Crypt Keeper in Tales from the Crypt. A League of Their Own, Dream On, and Tales from the Crypt. Television worth waiting for tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson are a couple of hustlers in White Men Can't Jump. Then at 10, the most deadly disease in our time, Matthew Modine and the band played on. And at 12:15, a young lawyer gets involved with a whacked-out clerk with a killer instinct. White Men Can't Jump, the band played on, and Killer Instinct. It could only happen here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Michelle Pfeiffer, Susan Sarandon, Cher, and Jack Nicholson star in The Witches of Eastwick. Then at 10, it's the best hour of comedy on TV. First, The Larry Sanders Show starring Garry Shandling. And at 10:30, it's the sexy adults-only comedy series Dream On. Witches, Larry Sanders, and Dream On. It could only happen here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, a new Saturday night, Steven Seagal takes the road down in Under Siege. At 9:45, go behind the scenes of the 1960s comedy of Humble Station, HBO First Look, The Beverly Hillbillies. And at 10, taking out from the inside from the Tales from the Crypt. Under Siege, HBO First Look, and Tales from the Crypt. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. And pack your bags. Tracy Ullman takes on New York, debuting tonight. And at 11, Eric Roberts makes the mistake of his life when he swindles a woman with a lonely heart. Last of the Mohegans, Tracy Ullman and Lonely Heart. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Last of the Mohegans. Then at 10, when you're a kid on the street, the only place to go is where the day takes you. And at 11:45, pack your bags. Tracy Ullman takes on New York. Last of the Mohegans, Where the Day Takes You, and Tracy Ullman. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 9:30, he'll give you the creeps. The Crypt Keeper is back with another one of his Tales from the Crypt. Then at 10, it's the sexy adults-only comedy series Dream On. And at 11, it's Rock and Roll, Coffee, and Love. Matt Dillon and Bridget Fonda are singles. Tales from the Crypt, Dream On, and Singles. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, a new Saturday night, Wesley Snipes goes back from the airline flight, Passenger 57. At 9:30, Jamie has the Speak Full Truth, the HBO comedy hour Jamie Foxx straight from the foxhole. And at 10:30, Terror by the Fears from the Tales from the Crypt. Passenger 57, Jamie Foxx and Tales from the Crypt. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. 5, it's a fight to the death for gunslinger Mickey Rourke in the Last Out. Final Round and The Last Outlaw. It all happens here, tonight. Oh. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, premiering tonight, A Case of Mistaken Identity. Dustin Hoffman, Gina Davis, and Andy Garcia star in Hero. Then at 10, the sexy adults-only original comedy, Dream On. And at 10:30, it's another new episode of Tales from the Crypt. Hero, Dream On, and Tales from the Crypt. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 10:45, it's an HBO First Look. Meet the creators of Batman, the animated movie. Then at 11, it's an all-new edition of Inside the NFL. And at 12, Francis Ford Coppola's epic love story with a bite. Gary Oldman is Bram Stoker's Dracula. HBO First Look, Inside the NFL, and Dracula. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, lightweight greats of the past reminisce. In this corner, boxing's little giants. Then at 9, an ex-con and his hostage babe team up to overpower their android captors in Project Shadow Chaser. Then at 10:30, Martin Lawrence hosts the hippest stand-up, Def Comedy Jam. In this corner, Project Shadow Chaser and Def Comedy Jam. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Gina Davis, Tom Hanks, and Madonna score big in the Girls of Summer hit, A League of Their Own. Then at 10:15, Wall Street baron Danny DeVito learns the trade-offs to trading other people's money. And at 12, Clint Eastwood, Gene Hackman, and Morgan Freeman, Unforgiven. A League of Their Own, Other People's Money, and Unforgiven. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Damon and Keenen Ivory Wayans star in the action-adventure spoof, I'm Gonna Get Ya, Sucker. Then at 9:30, Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson hustle in White Man Can't Jump. And at 11:30, he's the talk of late night, The Larry Sanders Show starring Garry Shandling. I'm Gonna Get Ya, Sucker, White Men Can't Jump, and Larry Sanders. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
At 8, premiering tonight, Mel Gibson is repairing until in this fantasy drama, Forever Young. At 10, Martin Tupper is the only stop comedy series of Dream On. And at 10:30, Creepers has the terror of Beyond in this horror series, Tales from the Crypt. Forever Young, Dream On, and Tales from the Crypt.
It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Eddie Murphy's back in town in the blockbusting comedy thriller Beverly Hills Cop 2. Then at 10, a tough LA cop teams up with his ex-wife in The Finishing Touch. And at 11:30, brace yourself for savage comedy and raw entertainment. It's Hardcore TV. Beverly Hills Cop 2, The Finishing Touch, and Hardcore TV. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, premiering tonight, Kevin Costner, Whitney Houston, The Bodyguard. Then at 10:30, Steven Seagal takes on terrorists to save a battleship that's under siege. And at 12:20, Adventure, Honor, Sacrifice. Daniel Day-Lewis is the last of the Mohicans. The Bodyguard, Under Siege, and the last of the Mohicans. It all happens here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, it all happens here on HBO. At 8, Clint Eastwood's award-winning Western, co-starring Gene Hackman and Morgan Freeman, Unforgiven. Then at 10:30, it's The Larry Sanders Show starring Garry Shandling. And at 11, Francis Ford Coppola's epic love story with a bite. Gary Oldman is Bram Stoker's Dracula. Unforgiven, Larry Sanders, and Dracula. It all happens here, tonight on HBO.
Tonight, it all happens here on HBO.
At 8, premiering tonight, Macaulay Culkin is Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. At 10, boxing doubleheader, Bow vs. Botha and Kelly vs. Benavides. And at 12, stay tuned for an all-new season of Dream On. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, boxing doubleheader, and Dream On. It All Happens Here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, It All Happens Here on HBO. At 8, Macaulay Culkin's doing the town. He's Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Then at 10, Comedy's Best Come Together in Comic Relief 6, Highlights Part 1. And at 12, a homeboy makes good in the white man's world in the hip-happening comedy Livin' Large. Home Alone 2, Comic Relief 6 Highlights, and Livin' Large. It All Happens Here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, It All Happens Here on HBO. At 8, a vampire babe stalks the streets in search of Italian food, innocent blood. Then at 10, it's the best hour of comedy on television. First, the sexy Dream On. Then at 10:30, he's the talk of late night, The Larry Sanders Show, starring Garry Shandling. Innocent Blood, Dream On, and Larry Sanders. It All Happens Here, tonight on HBO.
Tonight, It All Happens Here on HBO. At 8, kidnapper Jeff Bridges makes Kiefer Sutherland a bizarre proposal in The Vanishing. Then at 10, Charlie Sheen takes you behind the scenes of Major League 2, an HBO first look. And at 10:30, get ready for terror, Stephen King's Sleepwalkers. The Vanishing, first look, and Sleepwalkers. It All Happens Here, tonight on HBO. Tonight, It All Happens Here on HBO. At 8, Kyle MacLachlan is caught in the Attica prison riots in the HBO original movie Against the Wall. Then at 10, a blind murder witness is being stalked by the killer in Eyewitness to Murder. And at 11:15, Real People, Real Stories, Real Sex 8. Against the Wall, Eyewitness, and Real Sex 8. It All Happens Here, tonight on HBO. HBO. At 8, Al Pacino and Andy Garcia star in the explosive saga, The Godfather Part 3. Then at 11, America Undercover takes it. Tonight, It All Happens Here on HBO. At 8, a retired kickboxer seeks revenge back in the ring in Kickboxer 2, The Road Back. Then at 9:30, Charlie Sheen's learning the tricks of the trade from Clint Eastwood in The Rookie. And at 11:30, Demi Moore stars in a chilling chapter of Tales from the Crypt. Viewer discretion advised. Kickboxer 2, The Rookie, and Tales from the Crypt. It All Happens Here, tonight on HBO.